Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Seven Kingdoms Zenith, out June 17th on Distortion Music Group. This album has 11 tracks, 44 minutes in length, and this is the band's fifth full-length studio album. They are an American power metal band. Now, as far as the construction of this record goes, I thought it was really interesting that they added a few caveats. The first one is that they included 3 songs from their previously released EP. Now, these 3 songs have positives and negatives. On the positive side, they work as singles, because obviously the fans of the band are familiar with these tracks. They've been released before, so there's a sense of familiarity as you navigate through the album. Every time they pop up, you feel re-energized by a song that you're familiar with, that you've connected with, and that helps the fluidity, that helps the mobility of the album. On the negative side is that these songs don't have necessarily the same exact attributes. They don't have the same warmth that the rest of the album has. So it's easy to detect where these songs are because they're ever so slightly moving away from the pack, and it's noticeable enough for you to feel that, and that creates a little bit of a hiccup in that movement. The other little nuance that they added was a cover song by Joan, Jett, a Joan Jett cover at the end of the record. Now, if you're going to make a cover and you're going to put it on an album, the end of the album is the perfect way to spot it because you don't want to break the routines of the record. You don't want to do any harm to the overall enjoyment and engagement that the fan has with the album. So throwing a cover at the end feels more like a curtain call. It feels more like an encore, and that's exactly what you want from a cover. You want that sense of finality to it. You want it to feel like it's a bonus, like it's a treat at the end of the record, and that's how they did it on this album, and I think it worked flawlessly. So all around, the energy, the mobility, the fluidity of the album is really interesting. It's an album that's very engaging from start to finish, with those minor hiccups here and there that create some speed bumps along the way. As far as the sound is concerned, this is a modern power metal album, but when you look at those keyboards, the influences that they have in the experience, in the soundscape, you start to see a little bit of that 80s vibe coming into the forefront. It's undeniable. Now, I like the keyboards on this record because they don't overshadow everything else. They don't take the experience of the album. They don't become the experience of listening to this album. They're there to create melody, to create layers, to create an atmosphere, to help better define the songs, to give the songs a little bit more substance and a little bit more texture so that they're not very thin, so that they have a little bit more for the listener. They feel a little bit more compact. They feel a little bit more cohesive. They unify. They're almost the glue that kind of brings all the other elements together, allowing these songs to have power, strength, and feel very strong together across all the elements. So really connecting the pieces, bringing all the pieces together, it's more of the role of the keyboards on this record than anything else. Now, this album, when it comes to the individuality of the elements, is definitely a guitar-driven album. It depends on 2 main key components, as most power metal albums do. Guitars and vocals. It's undeniable. Now, the guitars on this record, I enjoy the guitars tremendously. I enjoy the leads, I enjoy the double harmonies, I enjoy the solos. The solos were always on point in order to take something from the song, either from the verses or from the chorus, to elevate the quality of the track, adding value, which is something that you could say about the guitars all around. They add value to the quality of the individual songs and the quality of the overall record. But the thing that I took from the guitar playing on this album is that it felt so controlled. It felt so subdued. The guitar players know what they're doing. They're magnificent at what they're doing, and they're showcasing it. But they're showcasing it with such class that they don't really take control of the experience. They're not trying to put themselves in front of the tracks or ahead of anybody else. They understand what their role is throughout the entire album. They understand their role in the individual songs themselves. They know what they're trying to achieve, and it's all in terms of creating the best songs possible, not showcasing how talented they are, how technical they are. They are anyways, and they do give you a glimpse of that throughout the tracks, but they do it in such a style, in such a demeanor, that makes it a lot easier for you to process those guitars, for you to enjoy them, but still enjoy the overall experience of listening to the album and the overall experience of listening to Sabrina's vocals. Her voice is phenomenal. Her range is tremendous. She has great power, great control. I was really taken back by how controlled she feels within this record. Even when she pushes, even when she stretches her range, it still feels very controlled. It still feels very effortlessly. And that adds aroma, that adds class to the sound, to the record, to the overall vocal performance. There is maybe a song here and there where I felt that the sound that they've created, the mix, the warmth of the guitars and drums together were not enough to let her really push herself forward, that she felt a little bit subdued by it. But it's really one or two tracks. Outside of that, everything else is really driven by her and the power of the guitars. She has a magnificent voice. She elevates the quality of the lyrics, and she elevates the experience of the tracks, really understanding the momentums of the songs, when to push further, when to move a little bit back, when to come a little bit deeper, when to go a little bit higher. I was also a fan of using choirs and backing vocals behind her on some of the choruses in order to make the songs feel bigger, to match the sound that already exists from the two guitars. Really important to create that duality. You don't want one to overshadow the other, so the best way to ensure that is that both elements have a lot of the same attributes, they have a lot of the same movement, and that's exactly what they did on this album. Now, this is a record that overall has a sense of capturing the attention of the listener. If you're a fan of power metal, if you're a fan of modern power metal, if you're a fan of more of the 80s style of heavy metal sound with those synths, this album has a little bit of everything for everybody. I feel like the record loses a little bit of itself in the last third. The last third of the album is not as cohesive, is not as balanced, is not as together as the first 2/3. So there is a little bit of losing steam as you're moving along. But all around, the quality of the first 2/3 of the album is undeniable, and that losing of steam at the end is not enough to take anything away from how good this album really is. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Diamond Handed. This is the opening track, and what an opening track. I mean, powerful riff, powerful sound, powerful vocals to kick everything off. It gets the track underway. The chorus is phenomenal on this song. Powerful sound, powerful voice, not just in the verses, but in that chorus. That chorus is just outstanding. It just explodes onto this song, making the track very hooky, very catchy. You definitely gravitate towards it. Using backing vocals behind the main vocal lines in that chorus makes it feel even bigger, even better, and it matches the energy that you get from those chunky guitars, because this track doesn't have just driven, powerful guitars. It also has some heavy, almost thrashy riffs that make the guitars feel a little bit bigger. So adding those layers, like I mentioned earlier, matches the two elements and allows the song to be more balanced, more connected from start to finish. Great track with a great solo section that pulls the energy that exists in the chorus, brings it into the solo, and then it just lets the windows open and the sun comes in and the air flows. It's a phenomenal track all around. Next you have Chasing the Mirage. The chorus is the song. This track is all about the chorus. Everything is leading you to it. The vocals are leading you to it, the sound, the vibe, the atmosphere, everything is pushing you towards that chorus. The guitars sound phenomenal. They have a lot of power. The duality of the guitar sound works really well on this song because it expands the footprint of the track. It makes the song feel not just bigger, but wider. Like it has a lot more movement. It has lateral movement from that perspective. The song has great tempo, moves really well, always pushing you forward, but also expanding, like I said, on a lateral basis. It culminates with that chorus because the chorus is the song. Everything about this song is pushing you into that funnel, into that chorus. Great guitar sound, very incredibly vocally driven chorus that adds to that momentum that the track has. Once again, using layers, vocal layers in that chorus allows the song to have a little bit more meat on the bone. It allows it to be a little bit more thick, and then the keyboards complement the overall sound. This is a track that really depends on those keyboards to fill in all the empty spaces, all the white spaces, all the dead spaces that exist within the sound, within the track, are filled in by the keyboards, and that makes the song feel a little bit more robust and makes the song feel a little bit more complete, a little bit better together. Last but not least, Magic in the Mist. This is a more keyboard driven track all around because they have more of a predominant role. They're there at the beginning, they're there in the middle, they're there at the end. So it's one of the songs that jumps out. It doesn't break from the pack because you've seen the keyboards there throughout the entire record. But on this track, I felt like they allow the keyboards to have more of a predominant role, pushing them more into the forefront, and that softens the sound. The song, it doesn't feel as driven, it doesn't feel as powerful, still is, but it's softened. The blow is a little bit softened by the keyboard sound, by the aroma, by the melodic drive that it overall creates. The chorus gains a lot of strength. This is a track that feels more controlled, more subdued in the verses. Absolute explosion once it gets to the chorus. The gap between the two is very drastic, so that allows you to feel the momentums, the ebbs and flows a lot better as you navigate through the entire song. This is it. 7 Kingdoms with Zenith, out June 17th on Distortion Music Group. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.